Quick guess before we start. Which company do you think has spent the longest time as the single most valuable company on Earth over the last 30 years? Most people say Apple. Right now, the top 3 companies on this chart are separated by less than $1 trillion combined. A chip maker, a search engine, and a phone maker, all within shouting distance of each other. But 30 years ago, none of them were anywhere close to the top. The company that was on top made phone calls, not iPhones or search results. This is the story of who owned the world, 1 year at a time. In the mid-1990s, the single most valuable company on Earth wasn't American at all. It was NTT, Japan's telecom giant, riding the tail end of Japan's economic bubble to a valuation that dwarfed anything in Silicon Valley at the time. Right behind it, General Electric, a company that made jet engines, light bulbs, and kitchen appliances, methodically building one of the most durable corporate empires in modern history under legendary CEO Jack Welch. Microsoft was climbing fast too, riding Windows and Office into millions of offices worldwide, but still years away from the very top. Apple, meanwhile, was in genuine crisis. By 1996, it was worth barely $2 billion and burning cash so fast that within a year, rumors were swirling that it might not survive at all. Keep that number in your head. It matters a lot later.
By the late 1990s, the internet had turned the stock market into something closer to a casino, and valuations stopped making much sense to anyone watching from the outside. Microsoft crossed $600 billion in value, an almost unthinkable number for the era. But the strangest moment of this entire chart happens in March 2000. For a few frantic weeks, Cisco Systems, a company that makes networking hardware most ordinary people have never heard of, becomes the single most valuable company on the planet, worth more than $550 billion, riding pure speculative fever about the future of the internet. Then the bubble pops, almost overnight. Cisco loses close to 80% of its value within 2 years, and it never fully recovers the crown again.
Through most of the 2000s, it's ExxonMobil sitting at number 1, riding oil prices past $100 a barrel. Then, for one truly bizarre month in November 2007, a company most people outside China had never heard of, PetroChina, lists in Shanghai and briefly touches $1 trillion, becoming, on paper, the most valuable company that had ever existed. Within a year, it had lost 3/4 of that value. It's the sharpest spike and collapse on this entire chart. Then 2008 hits, nearly everyone at once. General Electric loses almost 3/4 of its value in a single year, a fall it never recovers from. But quietly, in Cupertino, that $2 billion company from 1996 is climbing back. By 2010, on the back of the iPhone, Apple is worth nearly $300 billion and closing in fast.
In August 2011, Apple passes ExxonMobil to become the most valuable company on Earth for the first time, the same company that had been begging for cash 14 years earlier. It becomes the first American company to cross $1 trillion in 2018, then $2 trillion 2 years later. Behind it, a new generation rises. Amazon, worth $27 billion at the turn of the millennium, becomes $1 trillion giant. Alphabet climbs on the back of search advertising, a business model nobody in 1995 could have imagined. And Tesla, once dismissed as a niche car maker, briefly becomes in 2021 more valuable than nearly every traditional automaker on Earth combined.
While the household names fight for headlines, 2 companies most consumers have never directly bought anything from are quietly becoming just as essential. TSMC, a Taiwanese foundry that manufactures chips for nearly every major tech company on this chart, including, ironically, Nvidia and Apple both, doubles in value in a single year, from $539 billion in 2023 to over $1 trillion in 2024, as global demand for advanced chips explodes far faster than factories can be built. And Broadcom, born out of a 2016 merger most people barely noticed at the time, crosses the $1 trillion mark in December 2024, becoming just the 12th company in history to do it, riding the exact same AI infrastructure wave from a completely different angle. The custom networking chips that connect thousands of AI processors together inside a single data center.
Now for the fastest climb on this entire chart. At the start of 2023, Nvidia, a company most casual investors still associated mainly with gaming graphics cards, was worth around $1 trillion. Respectable, but nowhere near the top of the list. Then, ChatGPT happens, and the entire tech industry realizes almost overnight that training AI models requires exactly the kind of chip Nvidia has spent decades perfecting. Nvidia's stock rises more than 1,200% in under 4 years. By 2025, it becomes the first company in history to cross $5 trillion in value. And for the first time in over a decade, Apple isn't the undisputed king of this chart anymore.
And then, in June 2026, something happens that would have sounded like science fiction even 5 years earlier. SpaceX, a company that had never sold a single public share in its entire history, relying instead on private funding rounds most ordinary investors could never access, finally goes public and lands almost immediately among the 10 most valuable companies on Earth, worth well over $1 trillion on day one. It's the newest bar on this entire chart and one of the fastest to ever reach that size, turning 2 decades of private valuation growth into a single spectacular public debut.
By mid-2026, the very top of this chart looks like nothing it has in decades. Nvidia holds the lead, close to $5 trillion. But right behind it, Alphabet has quietly overtaken Apple for second place. The first time Google's parent company has ranked above Apple since 2019, powered by its own custom AI chips and a widely praised new Gemini model. Apple, meanwhile, is dealing with executive departures and open questions from investors about whether it's fallen behind on AI. Here's the honest truth, though. These 3 positions have been swapping back and forth week to week, sometimes day to day. Whichever order they're in the exact moment you're watching this, it probably won't stay that way for long.
Step back and look at the full span of this chart, and a pattern emerges that's easy to miss year to year. No company, no matter how dominant, has ever held this crown forever. NTT looked unbeatable in 1995. Cisco looked unstoppable for a few weeks in 2000. General Electric held the title for years and isn't even close to the top 10 today. Apple ruled the 2010s so completely it felt permanent, and that reign is now being genuinely contested for the first time in 15 years. The only real constant on this chart is turnover.
So here's the honest question this chart leaves you with. Is Nvidia's lead the start of a new decade-long reign, the way Apple's was in 2011? Or is Alphabet about to do to Nvidia exactly what Apple once did to Exxon? And that company you guessed at the start, was it actually right? Or was the real answer a name you'd forgotten? Whoever's on top right now almost certainly won't be there forever. Drop your original guess in the comments. Let's see who actually got it right.